Boom! We're back. Welcome back, everybody, to another Tuesday night chat with the Muskrat and my brother, Mr. Creole Catfishing. What's up, my friend?
What is happening, my friend? I want to know, 5-minute version. How did the James treat y'all?
I got to be honest. It was tough. We caught some better fish than what we did last time we were down, but we still didn't get the monsters that we were looking for. We had a couple days of high winds and weather, but honestly, the weather was pretty good. It was just us. Okay. But
much better than last time y'all went.
Better than last time, but
much better than last time. So
I'm still not happy with my results. I am going back, and I will tame the James.
Nobody's ever happy with the fish they catch in my mind. Like you always want them bigger. Come on now.
Yeah,
that's a bottomless pit right there.
We did learn a bunch this trip down. Not so much, not only just about the James in general, but fish in general. We'll probably talk about that here in a little bit. We actually we were surprised in some of the things we saw this trip. So, but today we're going to talk about shad.
Yes,
we're going to talk about where to look for shad, what to do once you find the shad, and what was the last one? How to catch them.
Yep.
How to catch them. So where to find them, where to look, how to find them, how to catch them.
Yep.
That's going to be tonight's show. But before we get started with all of that,
yes,
we're going to say some hellos. And I will, real quick, I want to do this. I'm going to be a little selfish here and take a second of the show's time. I know my mama is watching from the hospital right now. She's been in there about 12 days. And hopefully she's getting out here before too long. But I just left the hospital to come up here and do this show. So, Mama, I love you. Stay strong. And if anybody here's got prayers and good vibes and any of that good mojo they can send her way, she needs it real bad right now. So, Mama, I love you, and I'll see you tomorrow. So, all right, back to the show.
Back to the show.
We got newbies catfishing. Dale Hayes Slip, Robin C. channel member. Thank you, Robin, for being a channel member. Uptown Chrissy Brown, another channel member. Thank you, thank you. Keith NWPA Fishing's in the house. Steve Ransom. Hello, Steve. Thanks for stopping in. Big Wrench Catfishing. Hello, brother. And that's Catfishing is in the house. Welcome and hello, Carolina Catfish. Fishing and Freedom, Mr. Richard Cluck. Got him a new PB this weekend.
Yes, so, that was amazing. I could not be any happier if that was my fish. I'm telling you, it's incredible. Proud of him. Happy.
That's
awesome.
it. That's it. Sean Abney's in the house as well. Fishing Mid-South. What's up, buddy? Sampy's in the house. Fishing with Big Mike. JR Fishing. What's going on, team?
The reason for tonight's show, right there. They asked, they had questions. I say, well, you know what? We're going to have a show on that. So there you go. Ask and you shall receive.
Yep. And that's something we want to try to preach to everybody is you got questions. We won't claim to know everything, but we can find and dig. And most likely you're not the only one that has that question.
Exactly.
Two Stands Fishing is in the house. Has got to meet up with Two Stands, Stand 3. Over the weekend and over the week, actually do a little fishing with those guys. Sogo's in the house. What's up? Brandon's Outdoor Adventures. Hello and welcome. Stonefly 71. What's up, buddy? 3+1 Outdoors. I know I'm getting behind, but I'm feeling catty. Pam's in the house. What's up, Pam? Thank you for stopping in.
I like that name.
Huh?
I like that name. I do. I like that.
Feeling catty?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they got a gig going on over there with that too. Let's see. I think I missed somebody. Paul Boyd. We got him. Oh, I see my Slimeburger Catfish crew. What's up, Ian? Ian's in the house. Another channel members helping keeping the lights on over here at Muskrat Studio.
Heck yeah.
So thank you. Tom's in the house. LG Bass. R. Hanson's in the house from New Jersey. Let's see. Stand 3's in the house. And sometimes it's about the crappie, not the shad. Well, that's exactly true. This weekend or this last week, man, we had like 2 crappie and like 3 fish come off of 2 crappie. So, yeah, we'd like to have some more, but it didn't work. Chad's driving home from work. Chad, be careful. Thanks for listening. Stop by, brother, as always. So thank you guys for the prayers. I see them in the chat there. I know I'm way behind already, but I appreciate that, you guys. And I'm sure Mama does too. Uncle Jeep's in the house. Chris Hill's in the house. What's going on? River Rat 3030. What's happening? Mr. Murillo.
What's happening, Mike?
Everyone's favorite agent. What's going on?
Yeah.
Goober Time TV. Mr. Dan also tuned in last week. Gave us some pointers heading down to the James, and we was staying in contact with him with our trip down there.
Yep.
Over there. Butterfly Sunshine's in the house. Let's see. Jeff Beal. Man, we got 76 people. I don't know. I don't think I've said
I know. It is a packed house tonight. We love it.
Miss Becca's in the house.
What's going on,
Becca? Loves Becca. Hello. Thanks for stopping by. Let's see. Anybody have an update on Joe Granada? Carolina Catfish. My update isn't. I'd say my last update was before we went to the James. So I know that he was home. He was wearing he has to wear a vest. But I don't have a better update for you. I know he's home and he's got a vest he has to wear to help, prevent any cardiac events and things like that. But I don't know anymore.
Gotcha.
Where's that 100-pounder been looking for a long time, Big Mike?
We're all looking.
That's it. Oh, there we go. Fishing Fever. I wondered if that was you out there in the boat when we pulled up, and because I knew somebody else was out there. I couldn't see my screen for stand day, so I never even got to see who else was fishing, to be honest, unless they spoke. So I didn't even see it to recognize that was you out there, but it's all good. It's all good. We did the same thing to Bobcat. First time I met Bobcat, I just kind of waved at him and drove past. Ed Evans is in the house. William Winterstein, what's going on, buddy? Man, am I missing? Help me out.
Danny Stone, he made it before the end of the show. That's what I'm talking about.
We didn't even get through the hellos. Danny's early.
I know. Let's see. I'm trying to see if we missed anybody. I'm seeing a whole bunch of. Hey, my brother Sean T. What's happening, my man?
Got you.
Daryl in the house. What's happening?
I haven't heard much from Daryl. It's been really quiet. I hope everything's good your way, brother. I might give you a call tomorrow just to check in and see how you did. Terry Stanfield's in the house as well. Thank you, guys. We ain't going to get through the hellos before Don Johnson.
What's going on, Chris?
Chris Telly, Dale Hayslip. If I didn't say it before, I'll say it again anyway. Woo! Tiny Hollis. John Parker's in the house. Wait. Man. All right. Well, we're gonna get things started because as Jeremy mentioned, this is a subject that some folks have reached out and sent messages to us personally. And we thought, well, actually, it was Jeremy's idea. He said, hey, what do you think about doing a show on shad, finding shad this time of year and all that? I said,
do it.
We could do that show on every single season.
Yeah, I know, right? Kind of just highlight some comments as we go through. Make sure we don't miss nobody.
All right. So, Jeremy, do you have Navionics or anything like that up over there?
I can. If you give me about 30 seconds, I can pull it up.
Well, what I was wanting to start out with was like, all right, so the things are going to be a little bit different on lakes and rivers. All right, so yeah. Thank you, Chris. $10 super chat says because chicken is expensive, and it is. Even the chicken. Well, I don't know which came first, the chicken or the egg, but the eggs are expensive.
Yeah, they're both expensive. So,
hey, there's our brother Skip, Clearview Outdoors. Long time no see. We're gonna get together and do some fishing this weekend, though. Can't wait. So, kind of what I wanted to do is maybe pull up a map and say, hey, look, if you're looking at a map or looking at an area. Do you just throw a dart at it and see if there's shad there, or how do you attack that thing and try to get to an area that you feel the shad are in? Now, right now, water temperatures are low, and typically your shad are going to go deep. Now, deep is a relative term depending on the body of water and the area. Just like, we were looking at this weekend, sometimes we were in 5 foot of water. Deep was 12 foot of water. And the shad were there. Sometimes we were in 12 foot of water and deep was 40 foot of water and the shad were there. Yes. So relatively depth is relative to the area that you're in. So the fish wanted to go deep. Now, why did they go deep? Right? They go deep because that water temperature is stable. All right.
Yeah. Consistency.
Unlike air, and I don't know the degree, so I'm sure there's somebody smarter than me out there that can help me with this. But at a certain temperature in water, the warm water goes to the bottom and the cold water goes to the top, as opposed to air, which is completely opposite. The cold air will go settle at the bottom and warmer air rises. So the warmer water is actually lower than the surface water. Hey, we got Ripping Lips super sticker. What's going on, Claude? Thank you so much for that. Appreciate you, brother. Now, when that is not true is when you have shallow water and you have a sunny day, or even just radiant, a warm day. It doesn't have to be sunny. You know, the UV rays will still warm up water through clouds, but you do have a little quicker response when you have, you know, a bluebird sky or a good sunny day. And in that case, you know, the shad are going to want to move shallow. And so if you're not sure where your shallow is, then like Jeremy will have here, you could pull up your maps and look and see, hey, where is the shallow areas of the lake or river? So a creek that backs up somewhere will also have warmer water feeding into it, or will back up and get warmer, and your bait will move up in the back of creeks. The thing to remember is that the catfish will be right behind them.
Yep. Now, what I've got you right here, Roger, I've got you at least one of every scenario you can probably imagine when trying to find bait. In this one picture, I've got you some shallow and deep lake water, and I've got some shallow and deep river water, all in this same picture right here.
You are good.
Now, this is a little self-serving because this is a spot that I plan on going to possibly this weekend if it's not raining. So, I'm being a little selfish here, but it will apply. Trust me. Now, what y'all are looking at here on the top of the screen, if y'all can see where my mouse is at, this is the big old Mississippi River right here, okay? This big horseshoe at the bottom of the screen, and some people may not know what this is, but this is what's called an oxbow lake. It used to be the river long ago. The river straightened itself, abandoned its channel, and now this is a lake. There's zero current in it. This is a lake situation. It's only connected to the river by a very narrow little bayou that comes through. So it does rise and fall with the river, but zero current. It's got shallow water. It's got deep water. It's got a channel in it just like a river would, but zero current. So we got a lake and we got a river all in the same picture.
There we go. Hey, real quick, Olin Howard, thank you so much for the $20 super chat, man. That means a lot. Thank you. All right. So, Jeremy.
Yo.
You're heading out. This is the area you plan on fishing. You got to get bait before you go. Where are you heading?
Well, I can tell you now, I will be putting in my boat most likely in the lake, right? In fact, I'm going to zoom in some here. See, Navionics shows me information on the oxbows. That's what's cool. I'm going to put in right here, this boat ramp.
Okay.
I'm going to get in the lake. I'm going to go up, and I'm heading to the river. Now, my thought is, as far as bait goes, as you come down, you can see some of these depths. It's 30, 35 feet in the middle of this old lake. But you see this hard bend. It drops to 70 feet down in this hole.
Holy moly.
And then there's a big ledge on the outside, and it comes up. And right now, you can see the little entrance.
Yes.
The little bayou that goes to the river. I am thinking, because there's a little slight amount of current that's being pulled because the river's dropping. It's pulling water out of this lake into the river.
Gotcha.
So I was thinking somewhere around this mouth, it's shallow when you come out here. It's probably less than 10 feet. I'm thinking there may be some shad out on this flat to go find. That's what I'm thinking.
That is a great that's a great thought process, especially now that the lake has got some current. All right. So, just like in a lake scenario, a lot of your shad, they eat on plankton. Okay. They're not,
Mm-hmm.
you're not catching them with a rod and reel. Well, you may accidentally catch one with a rod and reel, but you're not going to catch them on a rod and reel.
Yeah.
Now they eat plankton. Right. So when you have a drawing situation like this here,
Mm-hmm.
that plankton and everything's going to get started to pull towards that drain. It's like pulling the plug on your bathtub. Your bait is going to go there because it's going to have an abundance of food, much like in a lake scenario where you got a wind-blown side of the bank. You hear a lot of people saying, go to the wind-blown side of the bank. Well, that's because the plankton and algae and everything is getting blown to that side.
That's right.
The shad, mullet, which we had our first experience with mullet this week. Those type of fish that feed on that, they're going to congregate towards that side of the lake as well. They have an abundance of food.
Yep.
So I would 100% agree with that. Having a draw, pulling plankton, pulling things there, and then like you said, it's also shallower there.
Yes.
Shad want to be warm.
It's a shallow all in this area because for probably half and half the year water's coming out of the lake into the river. Then the other half of the year, you got water coming out of the river into the lake. There's a lot of silt buildup all around that. That's why, you can see the contours. It's a flat, silty bottom all through here.
Yep.
And that, and like Roger was saying earlier, when the water is cold, because these water temperatures in this lake are probably 52 degrees, give or take. On a sunny day, the plankton is going to bloom in that shallower water first because it's warmer. The sunlight can penetrate it. The plankton is going to bloom. It's warmer for the shad. They follow the plankton in. Because remember, what do we always say? Find the bait, find the fish. Well, plankton is bait for shad.
Yep.
So if you think about where the plankton is going to be, find the bait, find the bait. Find the bait, then you can find the bait.
That is a great way to think about that, Jeremy. I've never heard anyone put it that way, but that is a fantastic way to think about where to find your bait fish, because it is a fish, and what they eat is very important for you finding them. So we got ideas. Okay. So we think, all right, so we got some flats. We could check some deeper water. But then, how do you know that you found shad once you get there? How do you know, what they look like on the screen, and how do you know, how to catch them? So you think you know where they are, you roll up over there, all right, and you take a scan. Now, this is an actual picture from this week, and we're in 28 foot of water, and the bait is just, stacked, and pretty much everywhere we went, the bait was at one of the deepest sections, like I said, of the water we were in. And we caught these fish. These are 28 feet, 30 feet's about the max we can throw our cast net. And we'll talk about cast nets here in just a second.
Yep.
But these are big, James River gizzard shad. All right. Now, on a lot of other screens, they're going to look completely different. Most of the time, our gizzard shad don't look this big. They're going to be small dots. Now, up on top on the down imaging, which with my glare in the background, it's kind of hard to see, but up there it just looks like pepper, right? It's just a bunch of little polka dots. Mm-hmm. But that's kind of how you find it there. On the side scan, on this one here, you could kind of see the peppering out through here, but the side scan image here isn't very clear because of the glare. Up here, you can start to see, I don't know if anybody can see that. You could see the shad in the water column here, and then also on the bottom.
Just a little bigger.
So I know it's tough to see there. When I took this picture, I didn't plan on using it for this purpose, but, so for us, this is a hummingbird. On hummingbird, the softer colors are green. Now, shad do have scales, but they're very small and very thin scales. So on sonar, they don't really show up as scaled hard. They show up pretty soft, which is here green. When you get in the real thick situations here, like we got our little red dot in the middle, they're just so thick right there that, you know, it's showing up red.
Yeah, exactly. Like for example, on my Lowrance, the color palette I run, blue is my soft returns, you know, up to red, and yellow is my hard returns. A group of smaller size shad, it's just going to be a blue fog. Let's say I'm going to see a blue fog. When they get either bigger size or just a denser group of them, then I'll start seeing those reds pop up in there. But that's most of the time, that's what I see on mine. You know, regular, you know, 200 megahertz 2D is just a blue haze on that Lowrance.
This right here is a good picture from a Garmin's point of view. This is actually sent to me from J-Dog. These are shad, all right. On his, you know, on the Garmin color palette, these can you see them on side scan? Absolutely, Steve.
You can. Yes,
absolutely.
A peppering of white dots. Sometimes even like a cloud of them. If they're, which this time of year you're more prone to see those tight balls because the water's colder, they're grouping up. It'll look like I've seen sometimes where it almost looks like a white cotton ball. It's just a tight, fuzzy
cloud
blotch kind of.
Yeah.
But
this here is just here is just an amazing photo. This is about 1,000 GAR or more in one picture. You may not believe it or not, but if you look at each one of these, if you see where my cursor is, if every one of these little lines over here, all of these are GAR. Trust me, they're GAR.
Yeah, they're a lot of, and not the good kind of GAR either.
These are terrible GAR. On your side scan or on your 2D and down imaging. So down imaging, you can see that these are definitely all separated, and you can see, you know, that these are separate individual fish. And down below, you can verify that these are hard fish, right? They're all red, which they are scaled. And we accidentally caught a few because they were mixed in with the shad.
Yeah.
But
a GAR in a cast net is not fun.
Well, I got to be honest
at all.
I got to be honest with you. I'll talk about cast nets for a second.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna put it out there that, you know, much like everything else, personal preference is part of the game, right? But I'll tell you this: these bets, Super Pro. What's up, Freddie? Trey, what's up? He says live scope equals bait. Yep, I said it.
Yeah. That's right. That is a true statement right there.
That's a fact. I'd love to have it. But I'll tell you, we've used Phytech nets. We've used the Signature Series nets, and they are good quality nets. They do throw well. They don't last very long, in my opinion. I feel like the monofilament that they use is a very thin, you know, I don't know what it is. I'll say 20-pound test.
Yeah.
And this stuff here is like 50-pound test. I mean, it's a much thicker, more abrasive resistance. Yeah. So we like throwing the best Super Pro nets. Now, when we got GAR in them this week, man, I got that picture somewhere. I don't know if he sent it to me or not. We were catching GAR as long as you can make your arms.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And like that big around GAR in these nets, and they didn't tear them up.
That's saying a lot, because I know for us, a little 2-foot Beck fan will just, oh man, you get especially a couple of them in a cast net. Lord have mercy.
There were times we had 4 or 5 2-foot long GAR in the net, and we were able to shake and shimmy them out of there without tearing up anything.
That's good. That says a lot. That it really does.
Now the price on these is high, and this is the part I had a hard time dealing with in the beginning. Is, you know, I like to throw. I'll just choose it right here. 1.4 pounds per foot, and a 5/8 mesh. That's $144.
Yeah.
Now I used to throw the 5-foot, you know, Walmart nets, and they were about $45, $40, somewhere around there. And I'd go through like 4 or 5 of them a year.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Since I've switched over to these Super Pros, and that initial $144 is tough to bite. Every now and then you can get 20% off discounts and stuff like that through Bass Pro. But once you do it, that net will not only catch you more fish, because of the heavier net, the bigger mesh, and the less time fixing holes.
Yeah.
It will eventually saves you money.
That's right.
It's hard to get that sticker shock out of your mind at first, and trust me, it's still hard no matter how many of them I buy.
Yeah.
But I buy about one a year now instead of like 4. So, but the reason I bring that up,
if you start like let's say with the Phytech brand, because that's what I have. I have a Phytech Ultra Spreader. When you start going to the top of the line Phytechs, you're going to have just about that much money in them. So it's not like it's twice the price of a Phytech. You're paying a little more, but it's not double the price. Don't get me wrong.
I got you. Now, I'm not saying, anything's wrong with Phytech. There may be models out there that are superior to what I've used so far.
Yeah.
But just the experience that me and Zach has had with all the nets that we've bought, and same goes for Skip. Skip has purchased several nets and ranging in size. And
me personally, okay, because I still consider myself a beginner with a cast net, because I don't throw a cast net that much in a year's time. I really don't, because I don't fish with shad that much. I'm personally am going to say no, simply for the fact of, if you're a beginner, you're not going to have the experience yet of where not to throw your net, especially from the bank. It's going to take you a little bit of experience of losing a few of those cheap nets. And once you get better at when not to throw your net and where not to throw your net, and be able to kind of be cautious with it about what you do, then you feel comfortable and step up to it. I would not recommend a green beginner buy a $200 cast net, because you're going to lose it really fast, because you're not going to know. Don't throw it right there,
So there's a couple things to consider. One is your size. So, state regulations, make sure you don't go out and just buy a giant 10-foot net.
Yeah.
Because that's what everyone else is using. Make sure you stay within the guidelines of your state. Each state has a different regulation. So that's the first thing to consider. The second thing to consider is what size bait that you want. Now, if you want, 2 to 3 inch shad, or 2 to 3 inch, sunfish or whatever, then you're going to need a smaller mesh size. And so you got your mesh sizes over here to start out with like 1/4 inch. I would not recommend a 1/4 inch cast net to anybody for anything.
You're going to catch everything. And I mean everything.
It's just too small.
Yeah.
The 3/8 is a very common size. You can get 2 to 3 inch and bigger lizard shad with the 3/8 mesh. When you get up to 1/2 inch mesh, it starts to thin out a little bit of the 2 to 3 inchers. Now you're looking at 3 to 6 inchers and bigger. And then when you get to 5/8 mesh, you're pretty much around that 4 or 5 inch mullet. There you go. 4 to 5 inch mark size bait, and then up. So it really kind of depends on what your target is. So she's wanting to go after mullet. Now, mullet get fairly big, and there's actually a whole different net just for mullet called a mullet net.
That's right.
And that's actually what Zach has now that we threw this weekend. It has a 1-inch mesh, and I believe it was 1.5 pounds per foot.
I know year after year, I cast net a lot of mullet. I mean, a lot. We have a spot where we actually chase them into the bank and cast net on big schools of mullet. And I'll tell you something about going after mullet specifically with a cast net. And that's the reason why they make mullet nets. They have to sink very fast, because mullet, they're torpedoes. They're extremely fast. You've got to throw on them, and that net has got to hit bottom as quickly as it can. So that's why you see mullet nets with the bigger mesh, heavier weights, and you'll even see on a mullet net that the weights themselves are smaller, but there's a lot more of them, because those mullet can get under that net a lot better than a shad can. And those smaller weights, but more of them, keeps the bottom of that net against the bottom where the mullet can't escape.
Yep. So there's 2 ways to make your net faster. And the 2 ways are go with heavier weights.
Yes.
Or go with a larger mesh. If you do both, it gets really fast. But the smaller diameter mesh size you have, it has more of a parachute effect.
I had to read that twice, but comment of the night right there.
Business in the front, party in the back. That's right.
That's awesome.
Now, we did catch some mullet on this trip to the James. We found them in some warm water, and we did use them, and we did catch fish on them and did get action on the mullet. So the action wasn't very good, so I took that as a pretty big win considering the action wasn't very good.
Yeah.
The one bait that I said it earlier, the one bait that was pretty much really outperformed the rest. And it's hard to really say because the bite was never really that good, but the crappie did seem to outfish most of the other baits that we had that day.
Yeah, gotcha. Another thing about cast nets that I want to mention, and I'm not going to go into the process. It's going to take too much time. But if you go on Catfish and Carp on Luke's YouTube channel, he has an awesome video on how to prep a cast net with fabric softener. It makes a world. I know Roger's giving me a funny look, but there's a reason he does it the way he does it. I'm telling you, it makes such a difference in how a net throws. Me personally, I will never throw another net without prepping it. That's
so. Here's my concern. I'm trying to find a picture real quick. My concern is, let's see, here we go. Is that what I've been told by pretty good sources is that after you do that treatment a couple of times, the net will become poofy.
I only did mine once. I did it once when I bought it, and that was it. And that was 2 years ago. I don't treat it like over and over and over and over again.
All right. So Richard said he bought a new 6-foot mesh or 6-foot half-inch mesh and more weight for deeper water, hoping river shad and moon eye. I don't know what size of bait you're going after. The half-inch mesh is really going to slow you down.
Yeah.
As far as deep. Now for deeper water, I don't know what your deep is. 6-foot net, as nets fall, they kind of fold in together. And if you don't start out with a decent sized net, they will, they'll
collapse. Yeah.
They'll collapse and be partially, depending on the depth, will be partially closed. I see Kelly asked, what about a taped cast net? What's your thoughts? Now, a taped cast net is basically just a cast net with, best way to explain it is a strand of duct tape all the way around the outside and all the way around the inside. And that's made to catch water and make that net poof out and stay open all the way down.
Yeah, it holds. I've actually never thrown a tape cast net. I've been curious about it myself. Yes. I was told by a few people that you absolutely do not want to throw a taped net in current.
Yes.
Because it actually makes it worse. I forget who told me that, but it's a good thing, the
current will catch the tape and actually slam it shut.
Yeah, it makes it worse. Yeah.
Richard asked, what do you think, an 8-foot or bigger? I'm going to be honest with you. I would throw the biggest net that you're comfortable throwing.
Yeah.
If you get comfortable with a 6, go to an 8. If you're comfortable with an 8, go to a 10. That's just my personal opinion. You could throw the net less and get more bait quickly, and get to fishing more quickly. We all know that shad, we're just going to keep it on shad, but shad will scatter. Once you throw that cast net once, they're scattering. Like you might be able to use like live scope or something like that, get back on them again. But each time you throw, they're breaking up smaller and smaller. So if you could throw one time and get, a bunch of shad, then that's going to be your best bet. And you could do that with a large net. I'm going to try to get back over here real quick.
Yeah, definitely make that first shot count because you're never going to get a better chance at them than that first shot, the first time you throw.
Now, here's the mullet that we caught in case you don't know what a mullet is, because I got to be completely honest. Until we put a mullet in the boat, I had never seen one. I had no idea what they were.
Pretty wild looking fish.
They are wild looking fish.
Like little torpedoes. I know. Now, I don't know how big of mullet y'all caught, but here they can get, 24 inches and a little over. They get really big down here, and they are so much fun to catch in a cast net. Oh man, it is a good time.
I think ours were right around 10, 11 inches. I don't think we got anything, bigger than that.
Yeah.
The shad we got were, a much, much larger. Let me see if I can find
world famous James River gizzard shad.
Oh yeah. Well, this one here, this was a picture of. This is what happens when you throw a. when you locate a school shad, and you're using on this picture here, he's got the cast net laying back here. Or no, it's not. It's off to the corner here. That was not being used. This is, one of his bets nets, and we threw the net one time, and that was our results after one throw. That's it.
That is insane. That's one and done for like the year.
We actually threw. I'll be honest with you. We went through and picked out the biggest ones of these. Yeah. And probably 80% of those went back in the water
and put them back. Yeah, because there's no way you're going to use that. I mean, you're going to waste it. You just can put it back.
This was probably now the other two casts weren't quite this big. This is probably our third cast about this big, and we saved some. We had a few friends that the river just wasn't giving up any bait. This is out of a lake, and so we hooked all of our buddies up with some bait for a while to help them out. But
that is crazy.
When you got the right size net, you can, and you do it right, you can one and done it.
Now that does. Now I don't know if you want to get into this topic now or you want to wait till just a little later. But and this is for me too, because I'm convinced I'm not doing it correctly. The actual procedure that y'all use from seeing them on the sonar till throwing the net on. Like, boat movement, how to creep up on them, what to do, what not to do. Kind of the procedure of actually physically getting ready to throw the net
on. Here's my biggest tip. If you can get two people, and you got to be finding two people that are on the same page and work together as a team is really it's a challenge at times. Zach and I have done this so much that we have a very, very efficient method, and it looks like this. Hey, what's up, buddy? Bill Hopper's in the house. Did you meet your hero, Catfish Karen? No.
I saw that.
Actually, I did. I ran into Dave twice on that trip, maybe 3 times. But we stopped and talked for a little bit, twice. Anyway, so what we do is we use our side scan. We mark some fish. We've done enough to where we can recognize bait fish on our side scan. What generally we'll do is we'll either drop a waypoint or circle the boat back around, and we'll pull up on the bait. Now, the technique that we use is Zach does not have a fish finder or a graph on the front of the boat to let him know that, hey, we are coming in to fish, throw the net. So when you don't have that, we spin the boat around and come in backwards because the transducer is in the back. As I start seeing fish show up on the transducer, by the time I tell him, by the time I say, all right, throw the net, the fish are at the front of the boat now. He's able to throw. So we go in reverse. So that I'm in the back of the boat, I'm driving, I'm steering, and I'm reading the graph. Only thing he's doing is holding the net and making a good throw, and he's very good at it. But I do all the work. He does all the work. I do all the looking and timing. You say, all right,
you're the chauffeur.
Yes.
He's throwing. Gotcha. Yeah. But that going backwards, that's interesting. I never thought about that.
Well, because if you're on the front of the boat and you start marking fish on your graph and your transducer's at the back of the boat, well, the guy in the front's already passed the fish.
That's right.
Telling him to throw now. Now, this time of year when the schools are tight and pockets are tight, by the time you tell him to throw, you may be completely off that school fish.
Yeah, you got to hit him.
So going in reverse is our way of getting to where we see them in the back of the boat. They show up on a sonar, and boom, now the guy in the front of the boat has time to cast on them and still catch the fish That's how we do like the one and done throw, like you guys saw there. It was we were in reverse.
Yeah,
So
because see that's one thing that frustrates me till no end. It seems like I pass through my boat, there's this huge pile, and what I have been doing, what I've been trying to do is I'll turn my boat around, pass through them again, but slower. When I first start to mark them, and me and Gabe kind of have this timing thing going on, but it hasn't been working that well. I'll throw my cast net off the back of my boat. And I always tell him the second I throw that net, kick the boat in reverse.
Yeah.
And but I haven't. I mean, I've only caught small ones doing that. It's like I know I'm not hitting the school. I'm getting off to the side of them or something. So I may have to try your reverse method there and see if it don't help us out.
The reverse method definitely works. It kind of eliminates. Now on my boat, I can do it by myself. I have a graph on the front of my boat. Yeah. So what I do when I'm alone is I will drop a waypoint on the school. Mm-hmm. I will then spin my boat around and get heading in that direction, and I'll get a little bit of speed up. And once I get down to, so many, 40, 50 feet, I'll kick the trolling motor off. I'll walk to the front of the boat. And once I start seeing the fish show up on the graph up front, I turn her loose, and that's usually good to go.
Yeah. And I see, and you see that's Fever, that it's the same thing with me. I think that's what I'm doing too. By the time I try to turn around, I'm trying to eyeball where they were. The dropping the waypoint, it's something so simple. I do it for catfish. Why have I not been doing it for my bait? It's just it should be simple, but hey, there it is.
Yeah. The dropping the waypoint, spinning the boat around, for us, and then going in reverse. And you got to keep in mind too, and this is something that we talk a lot about, is you might mark bait and it looks, and you're scanning at 4 miles an hour, right? And it looks like, oh my God, there's bait everywhere. But by the time you slow your boat down to 0.2, 0.3 miles an hour and getting back up to creep on, you're like, where'd they go? Well, they're still there. They're just not as tight as what you thought. Hey, Jody, thanks for tuning in.
Oh, Jody.
They're still there. They just don't look as tight as they did when you first went by because you were going by at 4 mile an hour.
Yeah.
So you got to really really got to be patient with that and try to understand that, hey, now that I'm going 0.3 instead of 3 miles an hour, it's going to look a lot different. So, I struggle with that in the beginning. I would be like, hey, where the heck did that big ass school go? I just went through here. Yeah. Well, it was just perception because I was going faster. So.
Yeah. And I know for anybody out there, I know me, I enjoy reading about things. I enjoy just sitting down and just, written information. That's a big thing for me. I still have it after 3 years, but Chad Ferguson, if you look him up, he sells an ebook. Okay. You download it and you can read on any device, all about shad. And he breaks everything down, extreme detail. I've learned a lot from that, and he discusses every single aspect you possibly think of. He talks about cast nets. He talks about some of the stuff that we discussed about how to locate them, plankton, wind-blown banks. It goes into everything. So if you want a good read, that is a very good one from him, is Chad Ferguson's Shad. I forget the title. Forgive me. I'm sure somebody will probably put it in chat by the time we finish the show tonight. But his Shad book is incredible. I love it.
There you go. Steve Ransom has a great safety tip there. There you go. Don't put the rope around your wrist where it can't come off easy with the prop down there. That's
why most cast nets have that neoprene cuff that you put around, and in a pinch, it'll just rip that rope right off that neoprene before yanking you out of the boat. Yeah, and I've had it happen. I have had it happen to me through a cast net in a moving boat, and it caught something, and miscommunication. Boat kept going, cast net did not, and it ripped it right off my wrist. Cast net gone. Lesson learned.
Better than you gone.
Yeah, no kidding.
I feel like I missed something. We was talking about locating where we think the fish are going to be. A couple of tips real quick on locating warm water. Of course, a warm water discharge is always, this time of year is always going to be an easy target. But if you have a marina that has docks, the black plastic that floats the docks up, and this is really a good tip when it comes into spring crappie season as well. Those black flotation pods that hold up the docks, they get hot fast. They radiate a lot of heat real quick. And so on sunny days, if you've got an area that's the docks are, and I have a marina.
There you go. I knew somebody would come through. There you go, Chris. That's why I love you, baby.
Chris is on it.
Yep, but that is it.
Yeah, so things like that. And you wouldn't think that the sunny side, so the side of the river, the side of the lake that gets the sun, early morning sun, would have any difference, but it does. They get sun sooner, it gets warms up, and it may be 1 degree difference between the left side and the right side of the bank. And your fish, you may just have to go straight across the lake or the river to find bait and find fish. So something to keep in mind. You wouldn't think everything little like that makes a difference. And I think it was Stan, actually. We was having a conversation, and we were talking about, does a full moon make a difference? Does the rising water make a difference? Does this make a difference? And what we come up with, and it was, Stan's verbiage was, I think it all has a little bit of an effect, but if you get enough negative things affecting, then you might have a negative outcome. So if you've got, if you got the full moon, does that mean you're not going to catch fish wherever? No, it might make things a little tougher. But then, do I have a fast rising or fast falling water? That's going to make things a little bit tougher. And you keep adding all those things that make things tougher, you're going to have a tough day. But any one thing in particular, I don't think, and Stan agreed that any one thing in particular, I don't think can shut down a bite.
I'll agree with that too. Like I said, because I think when there's one little change, you tend not to notice it. It's when you get a couple of changes all happen at once, all of a sudden that's a major change. I mean, if you got let's say for us example, a hard rise on the river, well, you're not just fishing the hard rise. Now you're fishing all the trash that comes with it. Now you're, that one negative thing actually causes 3 or 4 negative things. And before you know it, that rise that you're fishing, well, you got all the other bad stuff that comes with it. Now it's making a major change, and it'll affect the way the fish bite.
Yeah, like I said, I think it all definitely has an effect, and what the outcome is, whether you can adjust and overcome, and sometimes it's just pure luck. I mean, you put all your cards on the table, and you set yourself up for success, and sometimes it still doesn't work. Some Bugs Island, the shad will hang out in the creeks after a big rain, I guess because warm runoff is feeding the creek.
That's a situation that we see, that after a big rain, all the fields, all the stuff are flooding into these little bayous off the river. And we have found bait, especially shad. We found them where that warmer rain water is coming out of these bayous right there into the river. There's always a lot of bait right there in those areas. And probably for that reason you're saying is it's a little warmer water. You've got that, that rainwater coming out of there, and it's going to attract bait.
It's also, that rainwater is picking up all kinds of bio life and things like that. That may be a burst of, nutrients for the bait fish. I don't know much about plankton and plankton life, to be completely honest. I'm telling the recipe for luck.
I said that the other day, and they love it now. But here it is: luck is what happens when preparation meets effort.
That's right.
You've heard me say that before, I believe.
Yep. You've said it right here before.
Yep, that's it.
Interesting on the rainwater coming out of creek. Yeah. And I think that both the warmth, obviously, your bait fish are going to gravitate towards warmer. same thing when it comes to catfish.
Ooh,
You know,
this is a good one here too. On our subject that we're talking about, I forgot about the concrete thing.
oh yes,
That's great right there. Great, especially during the warm, sunny days in cold weather. That right there is money.
that's a great point right there, Trey.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Chris has a good question there. What about when they are everywhere on the graph, but they're not schooled up? Do you just throw the net more? Unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah.
unless you could find them at a little bit thicker location than one area to another, you kind of stuck just throwing the net more.
Yeah.
And get. There's times where you got to do the same thing. Trust me, that one and done, that don't happen very often. That's why that's a picture. It's because they don't happen very often. Okay, so don't.
Disclaimer: results may vary.
There you go. There you go. Don't think that that's normal, because that's not by far. That's why it's a picture, is because it was rare.
Yeah. Yeah. Now we do it with the mullet. I haven't done it with shad, but I've seen Chris Souders do this with shad. He will actually maneuver his boat and take that cast net and clap, clap, clap on the deck of that boat, and he's actually corralling those. Now, when I saw him do it, which is the exact thing we do for those mullet, I'll weave back and forth, bang that net on the deck, and it pushes them like up against the shallows against the bank. They ain't got nowhere to go.
Yeah.
You know, now there's
I've actually put the boat in. I've seen him doing that. I put in the boat and I was heading out and he was coming in. I'm like, what in the world are you doing? You're scaring all the fish. He said, that's what I'm trying to do. I said, what?
He's corralling them. Yep.
Yeah, he was. He got them all up. They actually ran to a little deep pocket right there in the middle of that marina, and he crowded them all in, and he just stopped, and they all went into that little hole, and then boom, he threw on them. And I was like, what?
Now that I imagine that ain't nearly the first time he did that. I promise you, he didn't wake up that morning and think of that. That's after thousands and thousands of times of getting that down pat. But we'll do it with mullet. We'll weave back and forth, chase them in there. Then right about the point they really start, like you see them darting around back and forth on the surface, you know you got them. Hit them.
Yeah. Let's see, we had a couple other comments in there. I thought I saw a question.
Brother.
Jody's asking, what about night fishing, fish to creek mouths or hit deep holes and ledges? So are you talking about catfish still, or are you sticking with bait? So far we've been talking about bait. Catching bait at night, it's basically the same. The only difference is it seems to be around lights, any type of lights, and it doesn't seem to matter because even this time of year, I was talking to Adam Cook. He's a guide down there on the James, Nautical Pride Sport Fishing. He's very, very good, very knowledgeable dude.
Oh, yeah, great guy.
But he was telling us, some areas to go get bait and stuff. And he's like, hey, get around these lights and at nighttime, and there will be bait there. And, we're talking 40-some degree water. And at night, the bait is still there because it draws the plankton and draws.
That's right.
It just starts a giant
food chain.
Yeah, there you go. Giant
food chain. Find the bait, then you can find the bait, then you can find the fish.
There you go. So let me see. I want to make sure if anybody else had anything, we didn't miss it. Talk about the spillways. One of my favorite places is the spillway. Night year round, the ramps are great because they all have light. Yeah, there you go, Cody. Kind of two of the situations that we've talked about here recently tied together. Kevin, K&B Anglers, what's going on, buddy? Fishing Fever says, I'm not very good at it, but I think finding the warmest water is a good starting point for bait. From what I've seen and heard, if you can't find warm water, it's probably deep. In the situation we saw this weekend, or this last whole week. We saw both. We saw bait up in shallow water. So we went up and those of you that, verbiage around the James, we went in and drug pits, and we were in 5-6 foot of water, and there were fish everywhere. And not only were there fish everywhere, there were big fish. There were big fish everywhere. Get back up here to this picture. This right here.
I like that picture.
This is a picture of our side scan. Now the square around it outside here is where we've zoomed in on it. So if you notice, it just looks like a line. All right. It's the actual mark is just a straight line. You wouldn't even pay any attention to it. But I don't know about you, but this looks like a big, big catfish.
Yep.
And not, without you being on the boat and seeing the graph and knowing, and we've marked a lot of fish, and so we got a pretty good idea of what size is what. This fish is huge.
Yeah, that is.
that is
a big fish.
You can kind of tell by the shadow. He is a big, tall, fat dude. He is big. But this picture, 4 foot of water.
Wow.
4 foot of water. Giant fish. 4 foot of water.
Just cruising in that shallow water, because guess what? That's where the bait is at.
Yes. Well, the bait was deep. The bait was shallow. But so here's the thing to keep in mind. All right. Catfish can only do one thing at a time. They cannot multitask. All right.
No,
so
not at all.
So fish want to be comfortable. They want to eat. They want to survive, and they want to reproduce. Well, reproduction's out of the question right now. That's not the right time of year. All right. They want to eat. So where's the bait at? It's everywhere. All right. But there is bait shallow. But what else can they do while they're shallow and the water's warm? They can be comfortable. So now they can eat and be comfortable. And that's what's got them up on these shallow flats is they're warming, they're sunning themselves. All right. They vitamin D and all that good stuff that we all like. That's why they get dark in color. Is it changes the pigmentation coloring of their skin, just like when you watch big fish come out of super deep water. They're pale, real light in color. Their fins look pinkish. This fish is up here because he's able to get some sun.
Yep.
Makes him comfortable, and he's able to eat, which that's part of the survival process. He has to continue to eat.
Exactly.
Yeah, war pig, a high livestock species. Yeah, it's actually 1,000 feet most places, believe it or not. There are some places that aren't, the restrictions aren't like that, and there's lots of places that it's not enforced. But make sure you know what it is, and if you decide to take a risk, that's on you. But there is Ohio's finicky about dams and spillways. We can't get anywhere near anything. We must be a bunch of idiots in Ohio that, and if you let them get too close, they're going to die. Well, at some point, natural selection has to be part of the process.
I'm all about natural selection. I'm all about it. Trust me.
Jody says, everyone tells me to throw my cast net around them bridges, but I'm afraid my cast net will get hung up. I'll tell you from my experience, bridges will hang you up.
Oh, yeah.
There's lots of things get hung up on the pillars of the bridge, and they snag other things. And then next thing you know, you've got big piles of crap down there that will eat your net.
Yeah. And especially the older the bridge, the more true that is, because you go back in time, not that long ago, a few decades, they let them throw all the junk down at the base of the bridge columns. They didn't have to remove it back then. And there's God knows what down there.
Yeah. Now Cody says he likes throwing on the bridge columns. If you've got, now so here's the thing, if you got side scan and you could check it out first and see, that you've got a clear one, sometimes they get good current and the current will keep those pillars clean. Or you're able to take a look at it and tell that, it's safe to throw here. Let me get that off of there. That big fish being up there just makes me want to go right back to the James.
Yeah, I know, right? It makes me wonder how many times, because I've told Roger so many times I'm not that good with side scan. Wonder how many times I've seen marks like that. I've seen them, never paid attention to the shadow it threw. There's no telling how many big fish I've passed right by and not noticed. I'm not even gonna lie about it.
Warpick says they're only going to tear that up on a brand new net. If you had an old scrappy net, you'd probably be fine.
Yeah, that is good advice.
Kevin says he learned about taped throw nets tonight. Never knew about those. What's your take on that, Roger? Now, actually, Jeremy probably has more information on deep water nets than I do, but he doesn't use shad a lot. So, have you ever had any experience?
I've never thrown a tape net. I know guys that have them, and it's a deep water thing. It's specifically for it holds the net open for deeper water. Works great for that as long as there's no current.
Right. So for me, Kevin, anything over 25 feet to 30 feet, I feel the tape net would probably be, if you're throwing a 10-foot net that has large mesh, so 5/8 and higher, and it is 1.25 pounds per foot, that is a very fast falling net. You really don't need the taped. But if you're throwing more than 25 to 30 feet deep and you're throwing 1 pound per radius foot, I would go with the tape net. Otherwise, I think it's going to be closed by the time it gets to the bottom or near closed. And you're going to just basically bust the bait all up and ruin your opportunity. So that's my take on it. I actually have never thrown a tape net. I've studied them and read up on them and watched people use them. But myself, I've never used them. So I can't give you 100%.
Yeah, I've never thrown one either.
So that's
I've been researching because I've been considering it, because it seems like I find a lot of bait in deep water, 25, 30, 35 feet. And it frustrates me that there's nothing I can do with them. And it's only a particular time of year. It's only during the winter I'm interested in cast netting shad. But naturally, that's when they're deep. So, I'm kind of facing that. You know what I mean?
Right. Yep. Never knew about them till tonight. Yeah. A tape net is a great tool to have in a lake situation and deep water situations. And if you're consistently having to catch bait that deep, for us, we use 8 and 10-foot nets between 5/8 and 1 inch mesh. And so our nets fall pretty quick. Even at 25 to 30 feet, we can get some bait. I've been watching the side scan. If we're moving forward, Zach will throw the net, and I'll actually see the net on the side scan or the down imaging. There's actually been times that I see the bait in the net on the side scan, and I can tell him, you got about 4 or 5, and really have 4 or 5.
That's pretty cool. That is pretty cool.
It's neat. But if you're ever able to see that, we actually ran a situation where our net was falling kind of cockeyed. One end was falling and hitting first, and then the other side was down. And we kind of studied how he was throwing the net, and it turned out when he was throwing the net that one end was hitting the water sooner, and then the other end hits the net, and it falls at an angle, and that's gonna make it easier for that bait to escape. And he made a minor adjustment, and the net was pretty much hitting the water at the same time and falling at the same time and making, beautiful, what I call bird cages. It was just going down nice and pretty. So
that is cool. Now I do see, now this is a little bit of a specific example, but maybe it'll help a few people. It's something that I see around home a lot. There's a lot of people that do it. They're actually commercial fishermen. But this time of year, we've got a lot of shad that start running up at the dams. Okay, and a lot of them. Well, what these commercial fishermen will do, they get, and we have big rocky revetment banks. They'll actually get up close to the bank and look for some of these big rock piles, big stumps, anything sticking out that makes a hard current seam, but close to the bank, probably within 8-10 feet of the bank, right there close. And what they'll do, they'll actually anchor their boat. They actually have old cables that they can tie off to. They'll anchor that big boat and just let it sit there. Then after just a little while, the boat itself is creating a current seam. Then those shad will start getting in that seam right alongside the boat. And they literally take long-handled, I think legally this state, they can't be over 36-inch hoop diameter, but big dip nets, and they'll actually dip those shad right alongside the boat and throw them in the bottom of the boat. They catch shad like that this time of year by the thousands of pounds daily and get
Holy
sold
cow.
for crawfish bait. And I'm talking shad because I'll be honest, when they're there, I know how to creep up on them and not disturb them. I'll go get a few from them that they're catching. And I'm talking, there's some shad that I have that I put up and froze that they're too long to fit in an 11 by 17 inch vacuum seal bag. They're too long. I got to cut the tail off of them to put them in my vacuum bags.
Good God.
But if you've got that situation where you're below a dam, big seam next to a rocky bank, it's possibly something to consider if it's legal in your state. I will stress that legally these guys can do that. They've got a certain mesh size, certain dip net they got to use, and keep in mind they are commercial fishermen. To my knowledge, you do in my state, you do not have to have a commercial license to dip shad as long as it's under a certain poundage, which it's way more than I'd ever use. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes the way they catch them, one dip and I'm out. You know, but it's a very specific situation, but it's something that's very successful here. And hey, if you've got that situation, and you'd never throw a cast net in that situation because you're gonna lose it. It's just how it is. So hey, something to consider. You never know.
We got some big gizzard shad on this trip, but I don't think there's
big one, yeah.
Well, I think they were 17 or 18 inches.
That's big.
We posted a few pictures up there on Facebook, and one of the things about fishing down there was brackish water. So we were catching crabs in the cast net at times. I don't know if we're supposed to keep them or not, but we kept that one for
yeah.
I think I'm going. Oh no, here we go.
Now, that picture hurts. That's painful to look at.
This guy is having a rough day.
Yeah.
That is a blue crab claw coming out of the rectum. There were a lot of comments on this, but we around here we're used to feeling the stomach and feeling like muscle shells and things like that. This was a surprise.
Now,
we're like, what?
Right off the bat, besides possibly needing some Vaseline or Preparation H, what does that tell you immediately? The blue cat eat crabs.
They're eating crabs. Yeah, yeah.
Which I've known that for years down here in South Louisiana, because they catch monster blues in the swamps in South Louisiana on whole crabs.
Right.
They do. And apparently in the James River, guess what? They're eating them there too.
Yeah, I gotta be honest. Like I said, we learned a lot on this trip. I would not think that this time of year so the reason fish bite less and their activity levels down so much is in the winter is because their digestive system slows way down. So It takes them a lot longer to digest and process meals than it would in warm water.
That's right. And they don't need to eat as much. They're not burning the energy. They don't feel that because fish don't eat because like us, they smell something. Ooh, oh, that smells good. They eat because their body tells them, hey, you're running low on energy. You need to eat. So during the winter, naturally, it's a lot less because their metabolism is slower.
I'm reading the comments here about that picture. There was quite a few on Facebook as well. So it was old Dieter. The fish would have got him back.
Aye.
Shoot, I forgot what I was going to say.
You're talking about that you would think the fish would be slow because
So I wouldn't have thought that a crab, the digestion of the shell and the claws and I would have thought that would be something they would avoid this time of year because their digestive system is so slow that it would. Well, and maybe that's why this crab made it clear out the rectum is because the digestive system's so slow that it didn't actually break down everything as much as it should have before he passed it. And that's just an assumption. I don't have any idea.
I don't know. I would maybe throw in the fact that the fish are moving slow. Let's take everything into consideration between a mullet, a shad, whatever other kind of fish you want to possibly think of, and a crab. What's going to move the slowest? The crab. So I think that may be an opportunistic thing. Like,
it's just,
what? I'm too lazy to go eat that. But I can
conserving energy is probably, it is part of their survival instinct is to, not have to go out and chase down skipjack and whatnot to stay alive. They're going to take these easy meals. Cody actually said it right there. I don't think fish want to burn the energy to digest big baits in the winter. I could be wrong. I'm a dumb. No, I think you're right. I think that, a lot of fish, as you guys see across the board, across the country, the common theme is to downsize your baits. And that's generally what you hear everywhere you go in the wintertime is that they're going to be taking in smaller baits. Like I said, the digestive system. Then he says there, since our metabolism has slowed, is that why we have been catching fish that look like they swallowed a beach ball? Possibly. See, because they're not, that they might be taking in a lot of food right now because they can. They may be in a situation where there's an abundance and they will take easy meals over and over again, but they are not digesting them and wasting or processing the fish through them. Every fish that we caught down there had a big gut on it. Even that one I just showed right there, he had a big old belly on him, and they're trying to get what they can to survive.
Yeah, I guess it takes longer to process. Therefore, it's more likely you're going to see that fish that's just, all swole up.
Yeah.
From eating so much. Because we know, look, catfish are like labs. They're going to eat till they bust. That's just kind of how they are. That's what they do.
Excuse me. Warpig says it right there. Bill Hopper. Shad kills and they gorge, and they do. They catfish are known for gorging and overeating. You've heard stories about fish that are. Zach and I tried to save a fish. We don't know what was wrong with it. It was a big blue cat, and it was on top of the water. And we circled the boat back around a couple of times. We was going to try to scoop him up. We thought, well, maybe this fish needs burped. Maybe somebody caught him and they didn't get burped properly, and he can't go back down. But every time we got close to him, he dove down, and we couldn't get him in the boat. So hopefully he made it and he was all right. But
who knows?
But his gut was, and we got thinking maybe he's just so full that he just can't get down.
I do that sometimes.
Me too.
Except I'll lay on the couch. It's pretty much a similar position though. Just kind of laid up. I don't want to move.
Yeah, I was just doing the same thing. I made an awesome shepherd's pie for dinner tonight. I sat over stuff on my face as fast as I could before the show. It was good. I didn't want to get cold.
And something about bait in general is kind of this theory I've been kind of working on. I think this might be the first time I've said it out loud, but maybe this is my theory for where I'm at. Everybody talks about depending on time of year, you shift the bait you use. We all do it. I shift from slicker to shad when the water temperatures get about 50 or below. It's kind of how it is. It seems to me it's an awful big coincidence, and I've been noticing that with a lot of people, that whatever bait seems to be the best to use at that given time also seems to be the bait that seems to be schooling hard at that time of year.
Well, the same goes, in my opinion, for springtime spawning. So when your crappie move to the banks to spawn, they're a great fish to target. When the bluegill go to nest, they're a great fish to target. So for me, I think that's a great analogy that, the fish that are schooling and getting together. Hey, there's Brandon with Fish Sizzle.
Oh,
What's going on, buddy? I think it has a lot to do with their choices.
Yeah, because if you've got all those fish schooling tight, it's easier pickings than having to chase a bunch of scattered fish. I don't know. Been rolling around in my head for a while, and I don't know. I can't find any argument against it just yet.
I'm not going to argue it. Yeah, Jeff Beal says match the hatch, and that's a fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a fantastic way to look at it. I think it was on Stan Day again. Stan repeated something that kind of goes with that. It was, often people are fishing for the biggest fish in the water, and sometimes people are, sometimes they ain't. I know that's me and Jeremy and a lot of us here. As we want the biggest fish in the water, and you're going to hear about one-offs if somebody caught like a 90-pounder on a piece of chicken, but for the most part, for the majority, you're going to have your best success and your biggest fish on the fish that are native to that water, that are the most abundant food source. And like Jeremy said here, may be an opportune time to feed on that species of bait fish, whether it's a schooling fish, whether it's a spawning fish, whatever makes it an easier target, is going to be the ideal bait to use. And 9 times out of 10, your bigger, more successful trips. Yes, there's always one-offs. I use chicken. I catch good fish on chicken. I used other stuff as well here and off, but my confidence is always with whatever's in the water, whether it's skipjack, shad, bluegill. That's basically my top 3.
You
baits.
Always have to look for the consistent results.
Yes.
You can't let the outliers write the story. You can't. Because look, I myself, for a time, my PB back when it was 53 pounds was on chicken. And it was bumping in 46-degree water. I was doing everything you're not supposed to do. And caught a 53-pound fish. But guess what? Never done it again. It was an outlier. It was just one of those weird things that happened, but you can't let that write the story. What works consistently.
Right. This is a great story from Cody here. Is the biggest fish come on skipjack, and they don't have skipjack in that lake. They have tons of shad, and he doesn't do well on shad.
Go figure.
I can't explain it other than skipjack is a bloody, oily, delicious food for catfish. And I think they'll key in on it every time because of its ability to, they know, hey, that's food. So,
obviously they recognize it as food. I mean, you hear a lot of people say that skipjack doesn't work in their waters because they're not native. Shad works better. That's probably one of the first times I've heard somebody say that a non-native bait works better than the native bait. But you know what? If you're catching fish, ain't nobody can argue with you. Simple as that.
Well, it's also Cody, so we got to kind of.
Yeah,
What's up, Jimmy G? So I'm always going to side on the native fish, which is kind of why we decided, to do the show tonight, is because it's that time of year where bait can be tough. Whether it's shallow or whether it's deep. If you're in a boat, obviously you do have an advantage. You can travel more and it's easier to find the fish. If I was on the bank, I would target shallow areas, marinas, backs of creeks, coves, and anything that you can get back into that holds shad. Obviously, you want to make sure that shad is a species, forage species in the body of water that you're going for. They're not everywhere. So my last 2 BB blues were both on white bass. Guess I need to use them more often. White, man, I tell you, white bass, striper, hybrids, any of that stuff seems to be crappie. Just make sure you know what's
Yeah. Know the laws.
Boat 43, Benton County. There you go, War Pig. Oh, I got to get with Zach. We got to get entered into that. So the second annual Benton County Cancer Research Tournament, brought to you by Bink and Janet Fox, is underway.
Oh, cool.
We're already up to 43 out of 85 boats, and it hasn't even been advertised or pushed yet.
Oh, wow. They had a really, really big crowd last year, didn't they? If I remember right, because didn't they come on the show and talk about it a little bit before? If I remember right.
Yeah, they're gonna. Yeah, I've gave them an open invitation to come on whenever they're ready.
Go. Absolutely.
And they'll come back up, and we'll talk about this year's event, and if anybody wants to pitch in and help run the event or donate any prizes or anything. They did a really, really good job last year with it. It was their first tournament that they had ever ran.
Yeah.
Every one of their volunteers had never ran a tournament ever, and it was one of the most flawless, smoothest events. I got 85 boats in the water with no issues.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it was a ton of prizes donated from all kind of companies out there. If I remember, I remember him going through the list of stuff that they were going to be giving away, and it was crazy. And that was year one. Can you imagine this coming year? Oh man, it's gonna be.
No, Pam says she's boat 2. We got to get our number.
Yeah, you better roll.
Yeah, Pam was there last year. Cody loves white bass, but the B is
Yeah, can't use it. Yeah, he loves it, but he can't use it. Yeah, go figure.
Yeah, there you go. Well, guys, we have ran into a little over an hour here. Man, we still got 71 people hanging out chat, man. Thank you guys so much for tuning in every week. Don't forget the Golden Whiskers are out there to vote on. You only got till February 1st.
That's right.
If you haven't taken the time to vote yet, get out there and vote. Make sure you vote for this channel here. Jeremy's put a lot of work in this year. No, go through and be fair. I went through, and I love to, I love lots and lots of people in the chat and the channels that were out there.
Yep.
But honestly, I challenged myself when I went through this year to look at each category and the nominees and the videos or whatever the category was, and pick what was truly felt fair and felt honest in my heart. And
that's right.
So
pick your favorites. Pick your favorites.
Pick your favorites.
Pick who you feel is deserving. It's just simple as that. Hey, that's what they're there for,
Information to make you think and make you learn a little something new. Hey, that means a lot from you, Kevin. Kevin's been in the game for a long time. He's got a lot of great folks that he hangs out with and fishes with. So that means a lot to me, man. Appreciate that.
Absolutely. And y'all see I put that up scrolling across the bottom of the screen earlier today. It's that time of year. CatCon, February 24th, 25th. This year, it's Catfish Conference and the Crappie Expo all together. So catfish and bait in the same building.
Well, I love both those fish. If I'm telling you, if Mark hadn't already come up with catfish and crappie, I may have done it because I love both species. So
absolutely,
the River Warriors, all three of us do plan on being at the Catfish Conference this year. So be sure to come up and tap a shoulder. Obviously, I won't recognize everyone's face, from chat. Half of you, I've never seen your face. And so be sure to come up and grab a hold of us and tell us who you are so we can thank you personally for.
I know one little final thought that I had before I forgot about it was.
Is this like Jerry Springer's final thought?
Not like that. I wasn't going to go that direction. Maybe next show. No, I want to say a big congrats to my boy Chris Gamble. El Gato Azul hit his 1,000 subscribers. Congrats to you, brother. You earned it. You've been killing it. Congrats on 1K, my friend.
You cannot take away the fact that dude works hard. He gets out there and hustles, puts in not only does he put in his work on the water, but his social media presence is outstanding. So he puts a lot of work into. I can't sit down here and do all that.
No. There's no way. So,
He's definitely working
There's
his
no
tail
way.
off for his
Yep.
sponsors and for his own goals and achievements. So congratulations to him.
Absolutely.
All right, guys, we're going to head on out of here. We will see you back here next Tuesday night. Same cat time, same cat channel. Good night, everybody.
Bon fish, everybody.